Good morning. Welcome to your program, Your Agenda, here on Cignal TV, One News Channels 8 and 250. Thank you for being subscribers of Cignal TV and viewing our program agenda on Facebook and YouTube and on the Cignal Play app. Today is September 19, 2023. It's a Tuesday. And thank you for joining us. I do hope you are all fine and doing well. And as our habit of setting the stage, today we will be talking about cybersecurity, talking about SIM cards, etc., etc. And we will also be speaking with certain authorities to find out what kind of work they are doing. But before all of that, allow me to say thank you to PLDT Home Fiber Optic Internet for their continued support. And of course, we will be speaking also, well, I'll save it for later. But before anything, let's get started with our daily starter. And if you would, Gab, please roll out the daily starter. And I picked this up from the TV series Ted Lasso, from the character Dr. Sharon Fieldstone, who said during the show, "The truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off." Whether we like it or not, the truth is the truth. And yes, once the truth is out there, we have nothing to hide. We are no longer imprisoned or prisoners of fear or of a lie or of a history. If we just lay it out, then we're free. But when people tell us the truth, it hurts. Sometimes it's more than hurts, it offends. And we are seeing a lot of that right now in the lives of many people, particularly national leaders. There are a lot of government officials who don't like hearing the truth or the truth being said about them, whether it is about their integrity, their character, or their behavior. And that goes for many of us. Actually, I think it goes for all of us, that the truth hurts us, it offends us, unless, of course, you've gotten to, a ripe old age where the truth is something you appreciate and you've learned to live with. But the fact is, the truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. The thing is, when you are pissed off or offended, you have to step back and say to yourself, okay, the truth hurts. It hurts to know that I'm this, I'm that, or this is wrong, or this is not what I thought it was. But then from there, okay, how do I use this to my advantage? The truth is also something that we can use to our advantage in a positive light, because the truth is not supposed to be negative. It is supposed to be positive. It is supposed to be affirmative and enhancing. Okay, so that's our daily starter. I hope that some of you will take that to heart, use it in your life or in your dealings and relationships. But now let's go to the front page of the Philippine Star, September 19, 2023, Tuesday, and the headline is all about the Supreme Court asked to nullify Maharlika. Lawmakers yesterday filed a petition before the Supreme Court asking that the Maharlika Investment Fund Act of 2023 be declared unconstitutional and void, as they argued that the passage of the law bypassed the constitutionally mandated legislative process. Senate Minority Leader Aquilino Pimentel III, Bayan Muna Chairman Nery Colmenares, and former Bayan Muna Representative Carlos Zarate and Ferdinand Gaite filed the petition, while Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, Finance Secretary Benjamin Jokno, and the House of Representatives and Senate were listed as respondents. So there you go, a law, a very controversial law that was essentially fast-tracked through both the Congress and the Senate, has now to be passed, has now been brought to the Supreme Court because, among others, it was pointed out that when President Bongbong Marcos certified the bill as urgent, it was not an urgent need. Kumbaga sabi nila, yung certified urgent, para lang yon sa mga disaster, etc. Now, the key point here, ladies and gentlemen, to bear in mind is that when members of the Senate or Congress have to go to the Supreme Court to correct their work, you have to wonder, what kind of Congress do we have? Then let's go to the top of the Philippine Star, the header, House eyes 3-month suspension of fuel excise tax. Okay, and the House of Representatives, led by Speaker Martin Romualdez, met yesterday with oil industry players to discuss and possibly come up with win-win solutions, including suspending the excise tax on imported oil and bioethanol for 3 months to soften the impact of the oil crisis on the country. By coincidence, I was supposed to write an article, an opinion piece regarding that, and in my initial findings, we could actually remove 10 pesos from the price, from the pump prices, because there is the 10 peso, 6 peso, plus 12% VAT that the government collects from gasoline and diesel as excise tax and sales tax. Ayan na po, no? Kumita ang gobyerno, ang pinahirapan Pilipino. Meanwhile, fish catch down 70%, destruction of corals blamed. Fish catch in the West Philippine Sea has gone down by 70% since 2020, and further decline is expected amid reports of massive poaching of corals by the Chinese, a militant fishers group warned yesterday. That is the pambansang lakas ng kilusang mamamalakaya ng Pilipinas, or pamalakaya, according to National Chairman Fernando Hicap, who raised the warning in an interview. Okay, and then lower photo to the left of the front page, we have a photo of President Marcos chatting with Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong during dinner in Singapore over the weekend. Marcos said the Philippines and Singapore are embarking on an enhanced collaboration to address common global challenges for the both countries. So ayan po, nag-dinner naman sila. Okay. Meanwhile, farmers buck rice tariff cut, Jokno stands firm. Pinalagan ng mga magsasaka, okay? Pinanindigan ni Secretary Jokno. Farmers groups are confident that President Marcos will junk the proposed tariff cut on imported rice, but the head of the government's economic team maintained that slashing rice import tariffs would benefit the greatest number of Filipinos. Ayun po, no? So it is strange, ironic that on the right hand they will slash import duties on rice, but on the other hand they continue to collect duties and taxes on fuel. So parang tinatabla lang nila. Okay. Paul, according to a survey of Okta Research, fewer Pinoys are optimistic economy will improve. Kailangan pa bang i-memorize yan? Less than a majority of Filipinos now think that the Philippine economy will improve within the year. A survey conducted by Okta Research showed results of the July pa ito, 22 to 26 survey released yesterday found that 46% of the respondents believed that the economy would be better. 43% said it would remain the same, while 6% said they do not know. Okay. Further down the front page, you have a photo of Senator Bongo with athletes doing a group selfie, and Philippine Sports Commission Chairman Richard Bachman, Philippine Olympic Committee President Bambol Tolentino, Senator Bongo, Asian Para Games and Chef de Mission Ral Rosario, and Philippine Paralympic Committee President Michael Barredo lead the send-off of Filipino athletes competing in the 19th Asian Games and 4th Asian Para Games in Hangzhou, China. Yan po. Okay. Last but not the least, Philippines, India discuss maritime cooperation. Filipino and Indian maritime experts have discussed prospects for maritime security cooperation between their countries. Yan po. Okay, so that's all of the news that are featured in the front page of the Philippine Star. Please get your physical copy or subscribe online or read it online, the Philippine Star. Let's now go for a quick break. When we return, let's start with our conversations as we always do here on Agenda.
high time to arrest tech scammers and send them behind bars. This is what Senator Grace Poe tells authorities in order to test the mettle of the SIM registration law. Poe, the principal author and sponsor of the measure, criticized concerned agencies, law enforcers, and telcos for halting its implementation. She insisted that SIM registration can be utilized especially in cases when large-scale scammers are using pre-registered SIM cards. The Department of Information and Communications Technology earlier reported that around 28,000 SIM cards were used by Philippine offshore gaming operators, or POGOs, to earn 1 billion pesos from the e-wallets of their fraud victims. How do we make sure the SIM registration law has teeth to prevent and reprimand scammers? Let's discuss this more on today's agenda.
Raymund Liboro is a former commissioner of the National Privacy Commission. During his tenure in the agency, Liboro administered and implemented the Data Privacy Act of 2012. Prior to this, he worked at the Department of Science and Technology for over 5 years. He now works as a privacy advisor to various companies and government agencies.
Good morning, Raymond. This is the first time I get to call you Raymond, not secretary, not
Yes,
commissioner.
yes, correct. Yes,
How are you? How
private
is life?
citizen Raymond. How are you, Cito?
How has
I'm
life
good.
been for you?
I'm good. And sabi ko nga, mas parang relaxed. Now that
Yeah,
I'm back in the
you,
private sector.
before we get to the topic, I'm curious about that because I have people who have been asking me. They were in government, they've left government, or some are thinking of leaving government, going to the private sector. What was the transition like? And what were your discoveries?
A lot. I've spent. I mean, before I stepped down, before I ended my tenure, my term. A year ago, I actually spent almost over 10 years now in government, Cito, coming from the private sector. So you must understand, I came from the private sector and then joined government in 2010. No? So it's just like, transitioning back to the private sector. No? I guess both sectors have their positive and negative experiences. But overall, I guess it really now depends on, when I was in government, definitely the perspective is very different. But in the private sector, of course, you bring now your advocacy to the private sector, iba rin siya, no? But sabi ko nga, yung fulfillment, no, government, ano ang fulfillment level din doon, but really the pressure is also different compared with the private sector. No?
Did your 10 years in government enhance your abilities, your capabilities, or did it dislocate you from the demands of the private sector, the requirements of the private sector?
But definitely it did, Cito, no? It had yung in a lot of ways, no? Even management, right? Even again, no? With government, no? Very you have the rules in government, diba? Is there for the past 100 years, right? So yun yung kailangan mo yun ang kailangan mo sundan, no? But yun nga, no, for dito naman sa private, no, kung bumalik din, I started my own startup. So ganun pa rin, I still call the shots, no. But really in terms of again, siguro just to mention sa Cito, I had this very unique experience kasi iba nang topic natin, ano. I had a very unique experience of shutting down, no, a government agency and building a new one. Hindi ko alam kung merong dumaan sa ganon, no? Kasi when I was in the Department of Science and Technology, I was tasked to close down the Technology Resource Center. You remember that agency? So yung medyo na kasama dun sa mga kontrobersya before na agency.
Yeah.
So kinlose down ko yun, no? Really, it was a decision, no? So then I realized, no, wala namang blueprint paano magsara ng isang government agency, Cito, no? And you have to deal with a lot of issues, no, attendant to that, no? Like you have to attend to the employees, yung mga ganyan. Ano? So closing it down, wala palang blueprint yon. Tapos nung lumipat ako sa National Privacy Commission, which is a newly created commission, building naman an agency, no, from scratch, no, literally. So I had the benefit of experiencing both, no. So sabi ko, pwede ko nang isulat yon, no, kasi nga paano nga ba you've seen the life cycle of a government agency. I've come full circle in terms of managing something, no, na sabi nga paano mo isasara ito. And paano ka bubuo ng bago. So I had that benefit, no, by experiencing that and helping agencies, no, with a very different sabi ko route, no, or fate.
Okay, now going to our subject matter
regarding Cito, ganda natin.
Yeah, no, because that is a topic for conversation, maybe in another time, at another
Correct,
time. Yeah. But now we're talking about SIM card registration, 28,000 SIM cards being confiscated by the police, by law enforcers, the DICT being chided by Senator Grace Poe, etc. And mind you, even COA pointed out that the DICT underspent in its first year. Kumbaga weird, you would think that government agencies would grab the budget immediately and run away for programs, run away with programs, but they haven't. So you have shut down an agency, you have grown an agency. What's your assessment? What's happening as far as DICT and you were part of that movement to protect privacy and promote mobility?
Well, again, Cito, no, just siguro a caveat to what I'm going to say. Of course, I'm not privy, no, to kung anong talaga ang nangyayari din sa DICT, but tama yung observation mo during my term, no, ganun na rin yung nangyayari sa kanila. No? It's quite unfortunate, but really you have to go back to the history of the DICT, right? At medyo talaga sigurong fundamental, no, yung maaaring nagiging challenges nila. You must understand, no, yung DICT when it was even enacted into law, it had to absorb, no, I think if I could remember, no, tatlong agencies, no, the National Computer Center, the old telegraph office, if you remember that, no, yung and then another, the ICTO, no, which used just to be a commission, no. So overall, no, you had to, ang dami mong iisipin doon pa lang, no, and really, iba yung nire-reorganize siya, buo nga siya, bago siya, pero marami kang minana, no? Marami kang minana, we call it, sabi mo, baggages, minana mo yon, no? So hanggang ngayon, no, probably they're reeling doon sa, challenges na yon. And you have to, again, and really visioning and really following a roadmap. Marami pa ring mga I wouldn't say baby steps, no, para ring ganon, no. So meron pa rin mga na-experience na ganyan, just like in any other development, no? For example, SIM card, no, involving technology, no. So meron din mga birth pains din yan that you have to
but haven't they been given enough time? Because, we've been talking about SIM card registration for years. It's not months, it's years. And then finally a law is passed, but then the registration is suspended. And now you have two situations where criminals are using SIM cards for illegal activities. And then you have POGOs involved with those illegal activities. Parang dalawa ng crime groups or activities, major criminal activities. Tapos ang napapagod yung kapulisan natin, NBI, Bureau of Immigration. I mean, when are they ever going to get their act together?
Well, again, let's look at the positive muna, Cito, no? So sabi, in-implement natin SIM registration. Alam mo yung positive doon, Cito, no? 118 million sa mga kababayan natin, no? Sumunod doon sa batas, no? At ni-register yung inyong kanila mga SIM. Probably that includes you, no? And your family, no? Kasi bukod sa threat of ma-exclude ka pag hindi ka na mag-SIM, no? But really, naniniwala din tayo, no? Na kapag ni-register na nga natin, lahat tayo nag-cooperate sa batas, no, mababawasan na siya. No? But again, then you have to go back, since we're dealing with data collection, right? At yung problem is about the data, you have to go back to the life cycle of the data. So where does the problem lie? Data has a life, no? So you have just to follow the data. Paano mo ito kinolekta? Paano mo ito inorganize? Paano mo ito ginamit? Paano mo ito in-store? At paano mo rin siya buburahin? No? At yun yung kanyang extinction, no? nung data. So, a lot of reports have been said, di ba? Bakit daw naka-register ang gorilla or yung ano, di ba? But then you go back to the collection stage, no? And this is now where really the problem that you have to focus now on this, no? And just to mention, Cito, no? In countries na meron SIM registration, no? At pinapatupad ito, sa damakmak pa rin din ang nararanasan nila ng mga ganito, no? Fraud and scams, even in the United States, na walang SIM registration, but kasi wala namang prepaid doon, postpaid lahat. At kilala nila kung sino. Di ba, sila rin, no, ay tinatamaan ng mga robocalls,
yes.
Tinatamaan sila nito. At even in Singapore, so makikita mo here in Asia, sa Singapore naman, diba?
Yeah,
din,
Raymond, would it be fair to say, is it fair comment to say that all the efforts have failed or the process failed?
I would, hindi ko sasabihin na gano'n, no? Kasi sabi ko nga, meron pa rin itong teething, no, para mambata ito. But we have to address itong gaps na ito, no? For example, now that 118 million have registered, no, we have to ask them, the telco, ano yung post-registration validation that you're doing? Lilinisin. Any record keeping
which is now going to lead us to maybe the last point of our short interview today. The point about the suggestion, because I wrote in my column yesterday that in Germany, my wife had to pay 39 euros or the equivalent of 2,400 some pesos to buy a SIM card that had a 15 euro load, and the rest of the money was paid for registration and activation. Now there is now talk in the Philippines na dapat we will only have 3 SIM cards representing each telco, and then also that there may be a charge or make it more expensive. Now, I'm neutral in all this, but would making the registration and the value of the SIM card help reduce all of this? Or kasi yung mga nahuli ng law enforcement groups, ang mga SIM card daw had loads of 100,000 minimum. Medyo small change sa kanila yung 4,000 o 5,000.
Correct, Cito. So I'll go back to, I guess, I'm going to mention what's Germany. Really, it's really about now balancing the risks, no, and how do we address the security risk with the threat naman of exclusion, di ba? We can set, sabi ko nga doon sa hearing, di ba, sabi ng isa, bakit yung mga bangko, no, very stringent yung identification process ng bangko, Cito, right? So nothing falls through the cracks. Pero ilan ba sa atin ang papasa, no, sa criteria ng bangko para magbukas ng bank account, right? So we can do that. So this is called now setting the identity assurance level na gusto natin. Right? Gusto nating lahat, no, walang makapag-register na unggoy o walang makapag-pass ng picture dyan. magre-require ka ng face-to-face. Kailangan makita mo halimbawa yung nagre-register. Pero yung 100, pero wag kang umasa na 180 na magkakaroon ng SIM, magkakaroon ng exclusion. So yun yung ating binabalanse dito kasi napakalaki ng bansa natin. And I think that is where the dilemma lies, di ba? Kasi pwede nating higpitan, no? Mag-identity assurance level tayo ng pinakamahigpit. No? Kailangan face-to-face, kailangan merong like yung ginagawa ng ibang financial institutions natin to make sure na yung may hawak na yan na nag-register na Cito Beltran ay si Cito Beltran. Pero ilan na mawawalan ng karapatan naman natin, no? Kasi kailangan putulin siya. So my answer to that is that we just have to determine ano ba ang identity assurance level na gusto natin ipatupad dito, no, and adjust accordingly, right? And really run after this. Itong mga, sabi ko nga, they took advantage of that gap, no? They bought mga SIM cards and probably registering it and plug the gap. And really a very robust post-registration validation, continuously na kini-cleanse mo yung listahan mo, making sure, no, that people know where to report kung meron silang suspected scam. Make it easy kung maaari nga. Isang pindot lang, di ba? Or isang swipe lang, identified scam na to, and help itong technology, algorithm ng ating telco. So it's really about enforcing the regulatory framework that we have, making sure our law enforcement agencies are working together and utilizing to the fullest the available technology to go after this, to go after these scammers. Sorry, Cito, I cannot hear you.
Sorry. Finish or not finish, pass your SIM card registration. Tapos after that, problema nyo na yung pumasa kayo sa mga identity requirements. No, because parang puro tayo extend eh. And then, ang nangyari, when we extended, ayun, binaha tayo ng mga scammers, ng mga namimili, pakyawan ng mga SIM card, etc. And the DICT is being quiet about it. I'm sorry. I started out supporting the DICT so much, but they've gone silent night.
Well, again, I've always mentioned when addressing issues like this, security, but it's really a holistic approach that needs to be na magawa dito.
So, so yung question, Raymond, finish or not finish, pass your SIM registration. Should it be done?
I think nandiyan na sinimula na, oo, at we have identified the gaps. Siguro, well, kung may susuko na lang dito, yun na lang magiging barrier dito, no, Cito, no? But we still have time. They still have to plug in the gaps and address this to once and for all, no? Ma-address itong issue about going after scammers.
Okay, well, I'll leave it at that, Raymond, and maybe next time we can talk about the other subject matter about transitions and
Yes.
startup companies.
Magandang kwento yan.
Okay, that's it with Raymond Liboro. Thank you very much, sir. Have a good day, happy week, and God bless you. Okay, we'll go for a quick break. When we return, we will speak with the people who are on the job and having to deal with the mess of arresting, capturing all of these criminals and their activities. We'll be right back here on Agenda.
Scams have become a huge issue in the Philippines, from online selling scams to ATM fraud or phishing, to loan scams, package scams, and even love scams. These are just some of the country's most rampant modus operandi that use digital payments or e-wallets. During a Senate committee hearing, the PNP Anti-Cybercrime Group said that from January to August of this year, it has already received more than 6,000 complaints linked to the aforementioned scams. This amounts to about 155 million pesos stolen from the victims. Senators are now increasingly concerned that the number of victims may continue to rise, since cashless transactions have become in demand since the height of the pandemic. Let's discuss the matter further on today's agenda.
Police Captain Michelle Sabino is the spokesperson of the PNP Anti-Cybercrime Group. Sabino has her own Facebook cybercrime page where she gives tips on how the public can avoid online scams.
Good morning, Captain Sabino. Welcome to the program agenda.
Good morning, Sir Cito, and to all our viewers who are watching and listening right now.
Okay, well, I am glad that I finally get to interview someone from the Anti-Cybercrime Group of the PNP. And sana mabigyan nyo kami ng background because while we get to read about your actions, activities every now and then, we don't really get much information about the unit, or I don't know if you are a unit or a directorate, etc. How do we identify or label the anti-crime and the anti-cybercrime unit? And marami ba kayo? Marami ba kayong equipment? Because right now, I think you are the most needed in the country, in the world of digital, in the world of digitalization.
Well, Sir Chito, to address your first question, Philippine National Police Anti-Cybercrime Group, we are like a group. So we are one of the operating units of the national headquarters. And since by being a group, we have different units under us, like on the national level, we have regional offices and district offices as well. So nanggagaling lahat from the main, but definitely we're scattered in the different areas of the Philippines. And as far as tools and equipments are concerned, yes, we have with us sa national headquarters our digital forensic unit na ang task namin is to digital evidences that are presented to us, like yung mga cell phones that needs forensic, video surveillance cameras and everything. So yun yung mga technical assistance that we can actually provide the local units when it comes to providing evidences in court. But we also have our own operating units.
Okay, now to the credit of the group or the unit, you have had a number of bus, or I don't know if you call them bus kasi para sa drugs yung bus but you've had a number of very successful operations. Operations. Yes, and the most controversial is the recent one where your unit busted, am I right, 26,000 SIM cards, etc. How rampant are these operations, and what is the scenario like?
Okay, let's talk first, prior to the operation, even before the SIM registration law. Ang scammers kasi they actually hide behind the anonymity. So before the implementation of the SIM registration law, they dwell into using prepaid SIM cards. Why? Because they can simply purchase one prepaid card and dispose of it after they're done using or scamming people, with their hard-earned money. So with the event of the SIM registration law, medyo na-minimize yung problema natin when it comes to that, because no criminal or no fraudster would actually want their identities known. So as far as the operations naman that we have been conducting, lahat po ng cyber-related offenses involving crimes perpetrated online or with the use of information and communication technologies, ICT materials, it falls under cybercrime. So most of the cases right now, the traditional ones, swindling, estafa, sexual abuse, libel, they're basically done on online with the advent of modern technology. Everybody seems to be online 24/7. So you could just imagine that from the previous, like yung swindling stuff that you have to do it physically. Now you do it online, and you can do it at the comfort, sitting at the comfort of your home, and be able to scam people of their money, like anywhere in the country or even outside the country. So this is basically the reason, because because of technology. So we have to learn to adapt to these challenges and these changes as we go along the way.
Yeah,
And
Captain,
as far as
sorry, Michelle, Captain
Yeah.
Michelle. I was just going to ask, the crimes that you guys address, or or that are being perpetrated, what is the percentage of crimes done through a cell phone versus crimes done through computers, iPads, laptops?
I don't have the data with me right now, but typically, basically what is happening is, like, they get spam text messages, or they get like an advertisement done through social media platforms, and that is the start of how they get to be scammed. Offering, like with love scam, offering of building a future together, and with online scams, that will be like the buying and selling of things and stuffs. And it also goes to like employment scams, where text messages or even email messages are being sent out to different people, offering job opportunities that are, too good to be true. And for investments, I guess, and job opportunities as well, like, being able to get an income of like 3,000 to 5,000 a day, which actually catches the attention of people. So with this, maybe due to financial stress or constraints or out of greed whatsoever, they become susceptible to these cyber attacks, which they do not know that these are actually cyber attacks, guys, through social engineering tactics.
No, Captain Michelle, I know that in the last operation, that POGO operation, your team and the Bureau of Immigration, etc., I think it was a joint task force, you actually arrested people. You actually arrested the people who were running the business. Now, how often does this happen? Kasi may mga criticism sa other regulatory bodies and law enforcement groups na sinasabing, yes, may bust nga kayo, wala naman kayong capture. Meaning, nakuha yung mga kargamento, the place was busted, etc. But none of the masterminds are arrested. In cybercrime, you seem to always find and get your man, as they say. But is this true in most cases, or mahirap ba talaga because it's all cyber, or it's not finished until you entrap someone?
Okay, let's talk about first the one that you're talking about. I think that was the latest one, which is the late in Las Piñas, which we are referring to as the POG operations. Okay, initially, yung POG operations, the intention really is to find yung legitimate POGO, because we're looking for there are other companies used under this legitimate POGO. There are other companies that are actually using na uma-umbrella sila dun sa legitimate POGO. So that's basically for the target. On the part of ACG, when we get information or reports, actually, when just like also our operation in Clark, wherein we are getting information that there are victims of human trafficking. So that's when we come into the picture. It's basically for technical assistance, considering the voluminous data that we have to process. And it's not simple to do big operations like this because it requires interagency task force. Like for example, in human trafficking, basically ACG is technical in nature. So again, help with the processing of the technical evidences, the computers and everything. But of course, we would be requiring the help, of course, of other agencies like the DSWD and the PCapt, who are basically whose mandate actually is to rescue victims of human trafficking. So then, of course, we would be needing the local police who would be assisting us with the perimeters and everything. So it should be a joint collaboration, operation of the different agencies. That's what makes things hard. However, on other small instances wherein scamming are being done, or like there's certain like cyber-related offenses being done, yung mga maliliit lang po, we can do that. We actually do the arrest. And yes, we are able to file cases against them in court. Now, when you were saying earlier that it's a bust, pero no one is arrested, meron po. But because we have to understand there's a time prescription for every cases that we file in court. So meron yung 12, 24, 30, 72 hours or of some sort. And you have to gather all this data and information and then file them in court. So of course, with the limited hours that you have and you're processing like 3,000 people, it's tough, it's hard. However, there would of course be evidences along the way during the course of investigation that we will be giving them to the court. So it falls under regular filing. So it doesn't mean that just because they are sent out, it goes to say that we have not arrested anyone or we did not make anyone liable. There's just a process that we need to go through.
Okay, at least you got to clarify that you cannot go to court unless you're bringing someone who's unaccused, ika nga. Okay, we'll go for a quick break, Captain Sabino, and when we return, I just want to check about, are we just talking about, cyber crimes, SIM cards, etc., or are all of these a matter, SOP na for money laundering and maybe even for vote buying in the elections? We'll go for a quick break. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Okay, welcome back to the program Agenda, your program, your agenda, and with us is Captain Michelle Sabino. Mabuti na yung sigurado, baka mapagalitan ako pag maling pangalan na nasabi ko. Anyway, Captain Michelle Sabino is a spokesperson of the Philippine National Police Anti-Cybercrime Group. Captain Sabino, before we went to the break, I wanted to ask, are we just talking about petty crimes here? Kasi may na-mention ka, human trafficking. You also mentioned the numerous busts that the ACG has done in Clark. And that to me, I kind of wonder about that. Why are parang every year there is something like that happening in Clark? What is it about Clark where these people think they can get away with it?
I don't know if I'll be able to answer that question because on a personal opinion, I don't know. Maybe I guess because there are more foreigners situated in Clark, or maybe there are. I really cannot talk about. I do not have any clear view or understanding of why it's being done there.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to put you on the spot kasi parang sabi ko, is there because there are industrial complexes, there are export processing zone, and I was wondering, is it is it a system where it's not easy for the police to just come in, or for the ACG to just come in, or for assets to monitor the activities?
Well, that could be one factor, as in with any other crimes. That is usually the problem of law enforcement. Like when criminals hide, or they are situated in areas where it's impossible for us to just quickly penetrate without the necessary requirements.
Okay, now what about Captain Sabino? We're running out of time here, but I need to ask this thing about SIM cards, etc. How bad is the situation in terms of money laundering? Because one of your associates that I watched on a news item said that of the 26,000 SIM cards, the minimum load of money on the SIM card was 100,000. Sabi ko, and then he said it was like 1 billion pesos worth of load. And I said, for what? What are they going to use that for? Is this money laundering? Baka naman vote buying in the barangay elections, because now we call them POGO. But the POGO, parang pugo, nangitlog at nanganak na yung pugo dahil meron ng human trafficking, meron ng gambling, meron ng money laundering. Could you answer that, Captain Sabino?
Yesterday, I was talking with Mr. Josel de Guzman of one of the co-founders of Scam Watch Philippines, I think the public awareness arm of the ICT. And yeah, according to him, they were able to get there were information pertaining to that, like for a certain safeguard for it to have like 100,000. But this is under POGO operations. So I guess that's the reason in POGO, because you have to have certain cash to transact, to do the betting, to do the betting.
Pero it's weird because why were all of those SIM cards in the POGO? Because you would think, di ba, na or were these SIM cards in the control of the operators in the POGO and sila yung nagbe-bet, etc.?
Okay, when we do operations on POGO hubs, usually the SIM cards or the SIM cards that we confiscated, they usually belong to digital wallets, and these digital wallets that are being used by them are like they're like money mules of some sort, wherein they do the process of the money is being there as like the first how do you put it, first to collect the money and then later on transfer to them to avoid the flow, just to not make it easy for authorities to actually do the money trail. So just like when we do cases in crypto, like you have to scatter all the monies in such a way that detection is not really, it cannot be done easily. I guess that's one of the reasons. It is also for this reason why these people are buying pre-registered or registered digital wallets and registered SIM cards, just so that they would not be using their own.
Ayun, okay, because people were asking me that. Because, in the old school, bata ka pa kasi, a guy, a general or a politician from China would have someone inside a casino, a private casino, with a camera on a hat, and he would have the card, and an earpiece and sasabihin sa kanya, okay, raise to 100, raise to 1 million, mga ganon. Pero yung account, may ledger lang yung gambler in China with the house. But this time, meron ng digital wallet, may mga SIM card na, may phone, and then yung Pogo personnel, yun na yung parang mechanical doon. But anyway, it's so complicated, Captain Sabino, but thank you very much for joining. And may I request, please, in the future, please consider Agenda as a platform for the ACG because we sincerely want to support you because tumataya kayo ng buhay at even your life and also careers just to protect the public. So here we are to also help the ACG. Thank you for your time today, Captain.
Thank you very much, Sir Cito, and more power to you in your program.
Okay, God bless all of you in the ACG. And ladies and gentlemen, let's go to our blessing for the week. And it is from the book of Proverbs chapter 22, verse 4. And remember this, kayong mga medyo natetempt kayo maging mayabang, or for those of you who are tempted to, allow your position to get into your head, the reward for humility and fear of the Lord is riches and honor and life. So those who are humble and who are God-fearing will have riches and honor and life. Okay, that's all the time we have here on Agenda. Please include Team Agenda in your prayers, and please keep it here on One News. God bless you. Thank you.